Justin Burrows. This is Commerce Chats, my high velocity. Welcome to Commerce Chats. I'm here with Marnie Rabinovitch Consky, the CEO, founder, anti-thigh chafing champion from Thigh Society. Welcome, Marnie. How are you doing today?
I am good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I'm so excited to have you as a guest on the podcast. We see a lot of different implementations, and I was in systems integration, basically consulting to help people move on to new platforms or to re-platform. And so you get to see the back and the inner workings of a lot of different companies. And Thigh Society just does such a wonderful job. I really wanted to talk to you about your approach. Now, first, your product, Thigh Society, is, what would you call it? A slip short?
Yep.
What can you
Slip
tell me a little bit
shorts,
about that?
slip shorts, boxer briefs, long leg underwear for women, any of those work.
Yeah, and I find it I find it really interesting because you have ultimately there's this goal, right, that you have
hmm
with your product, and I think one of the
hmm
things that really struck us is how it's like it's uh, it's soaked into every part of your company,
hmm
um, and but before we get quite to that,
Yep.
you literally started this company from whole cloth. You started from the really the literally the fabric of your
Yeah,
product. Could you talk us through like how you came to that process?
totally. So yes, I have before Thigh Society, my background was in management consulting with an IT bent, so not unlike what your tech implementation background is like.
Mm-hmm.
With a combination of some human resource strategy,
Mm-hmm.
uh, government work, employee engagement, HR stuff, and MBA coaching, career coaching.
So
So
so naturally lead into the schmata business, right?
naturally into the schmata business. This is a clear fit. I mean,
Yes.
I did do my Bachelor of Commerce, my undergraduate degree at college in finance and entrepreneurship, and I had always had a desire to have my own business, and I did, have had some small ideas over the years to start businesses. Had a tutoring company in college, but Thigh Society was really my first foray into real entrepreneurship, and it came about as a classic entrepreneur story of me having a need for a product that I couldn't find in the marketplace. And it was June 2008, and the famous story is true. I put on a dress that day. It was
Mm-hmm.
summer in Toronto, and for any of your listeners who are familiar with the climate here in Toronto or Montreal, we sort of skip spring, so we go right from winter straight into summer. So I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't been accustomed to wearing bare legs, or skirts and dresses until that point. So, got dressed in the morning, threw my dress on, and then went off to work. So I went for a walk at lunch to take advantage of the nice weather. And within probably 5 or 10 minutes, I remember that all too familiar feeling between my thighs, which was this rubbing, sweating, irritation. So I waddled over to the nearest pharmacy. I would looked for baby powder, which has been my a good option in the past, but my real option was my bike shorts that I had left at home that day and forgot to put on underneath my
Mm-hmm.
dress. I had
Mm-hmm.
a couple of pairs that I would turn to. One was an old Nike pair, one was another black shiny spandex pair, and these were my go-to long leg underwear that I would need to wear anytime the weather got warm because I
Mm-hmm.
just sweat a lot, and um, I knew I couldn't go bare-legged without them. So waddled back to my office, put the baby powder on, made a huge mess everywhere, and
There's
literally
no elegant way to
there's
apply.
absolutely no elegant way to
No.
put baby powder on, and sort of shook my fist in the air of like, there has to be a better way. And that started my summer of research to look for a pair of long leg underwear for women that wasn't shapewear, that would be a better alternative to my bike shorts. And I really didn't have the mindset at that time was not, oh, I'm gonna start a business and make long leg underwear. Hell no. Like I grew up with a lot of people whose families had been in the garment business, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew enough to know that it didn't really seem that appealing. It seemed like hard work, and what business did I have getting into that? What did I know about any of that landscape? I was literally just looking for a product to solve my problem. So I
Mm-hmm.
spent the summer doing research. a little bit online, although the internet in 2008 wasn't what it was today.
Mhm.
I did find a couple of companies in the UK that were making plus size bloomers, they were calling them, which were really just, in my mind, a pathetic excuse for underwear. I mean, they were like very loose, cottony type of shorts, which cotton, for anyone that's worn cotton and sweat in it, you know
Mhm.
how much the moisture sort of sits there and like
Yeah.
it keeps the moisture on your skin, which is exactly it's going to exacerbate any sort of rash that you might be prone to getting already.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I also in that moment, resented that I couldn't find anything for people that were not plus size. And I thought, why this is not a plus size issue.
Mhm.
Athletes get chafing, babies get chafing. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter what size you are. Your thighs can chafe if you have sensitive skin and if you're in a hot and humid environment and you're sweating. So I had done some work online looking for these underwear. I literally knocked on doors of small boutiques in Toronto and some big department stores, really hoping that I could find what I was looking for. Because again, this was not me thinking I'm going to start an underwear business. This was
Mhm.
I really just I'm a girl with a problem, and surely I cannot be the only one. And
Mhm.
in the past, in addition to those those bike shorts I referenced before, the Nike, and then I had another pair of spandex ones. My other alternative was shapewear, and I thought, oh, every woman I know has a love-hate relationship with shapewear. It's kind of one of those
Mhm.
things that every woman might own 1 or 2 pairs. You might wear it under very specific outfits, and you're probably wearing it only for a few hours at a time, where it's a very controlled environment because you're
Mhm.
wearing it under a specific outfit. They're extremely hot, uncomfortable, they roll down, they're hard to put on, they're hard to take off, and you end up being a sweaty, uncomfortable mess, and you end up being distracted, really, because all you
You
can think
can't
about is
forget
how
that you're
wet
wearing shapewear.
you can never
Yeah.
forget that you're wearing shapewear.
Yeah.
So I knew as I was, what I was looking for, which was a comfortable second skin, long leg underwear for women that felt invisible because nobody wants to be necessary
Mhm.
unless you're looking for modesty. You really don't want to feel like there's anything underneath your skirt or dress. You want the freedom that comes with going bare-legged without actually being bare-legged. And
Yeah.
something that would be based with, some sort of performance in that it could wick moisture, take moisture off the skin, have minimal seams because you wanted it to be seamless under clothes. And bottom line is, I couldn't find anything. I spent the whole
Mhm.
summer looking, researching, doing mini focus groups, posting in some channels and forums online. And so I decided at the end of that summer to quit my job, which was I'd been working for 2 years at the provincial government and was very unfulfilled in that job. It was a bit of a culture
Mhm.
shock for me, working in public sector, having come from 8 years in the private sector at a very fast moving consulting firm. So it
Mhm.
was time, and I took 6 months off to basically teach myself e-commerce and clothing manufacturing. So that's sort of like, yeah, I'll stop there if you wanna
No.
delve into any of that, or I'll keep going.
Well, I guess the thing that I find interesting about it is that you're digital native. Like,
Yes,
you started
yes,
as you were e-commerce,
yes,
and the
I
overnight
was.
success that took 10 years,
Yeah,
it but you had to
yeah,
build that,
yes,
and
yes,
from scratch, and I think that's incredible and a little unnerving, uh,
yes.
where it's like the thing that really is a factor for success, I think, is not so much having the specific technical know-how, but rather knowing the problem that you're trying to solve, and that kind of ends
Yes,
up being like a lodestar for
yes,
all of the things that you do.
totally. There's so much there. I mean, I knew that as far as I knew, there was no product on the market that existed to do
Mhm.
what I wanted it to do. I knew I needed
Yeah.
to figure out a way to get this product to market, but at the time, I wasn't, I wanna say, like, I wouldn't allow myself to have big dreams. I thought to myself, "You know what? Maybe I'll produce a couple of 100 of these. I'll
Mhm.
figure out how to do that. I'll find a manufacturer, I'll find a pattern maker, I'll source the fabric, I'll learn e-commerce." I know this all sounds a little nutty now that I say it in hindsight, but I was really craving some challenge in my life at the time. I hadn't really felt challenged in my
Mhm.
job the previous 2 years, and I was looking for something new to do. So I the opportunity was waiting for me to explore, and the curiosity of figuring out if I could do this was enough for me at the time. I think if I had known then what I knew now, would I really redo it all over again? Who knows? But
Mhm.
I didn't do it all. I mean, I tapped into my network of resources for help because nobody can ever do it alone, and I think that's the mistake so many people make is they get scared of a problem because they think it's on them alone to solve. But there are so many resources out there that one can tap into. At the time I was reading books on sewn product manufacturing. I was
Yeah, I
posting
saw
in
that.
forums, yeah, to learn about what people wanted in terms of, if you could wave your magic wand and make this women's underwear that I'm describing, what would the features be? I was connecting with graphic designers that I knew to help me come up with a logo and a website design, connected with a website developer because at the time Shopify was just a payment provider, payment processor. You had to use a WordPress site or Wix or one of these other ones.
Mhm.
And I didn't know anything about, actually, that's not true. I did know a little bit about programming from my first
Mhm.
couple of years out of college, but not enough to program a website. So I had allocated about $8,000 of my own personal savings and said, I'm going to take this and I'm going to explore. This money has to take me to the launch of a website and a couple, and about 100 pairs of shorts that I can sell. And
Mhm.
that's the mentality I went in with that first year of how much can I squeeze out of this $8,000? Because if I don't try this, I might have regrets later about not ever having explored it. And I
Mhm.
felt comfortable with, knowing what things were going to cost, which is ironic because I think of that $8,000, if I'm not mistaken, 1 to 2K was for inventory, like was for actually
Mhm.
the product cost. The
Yeah.
rest was web design and all that, which nowadays, if you want to start a website, you can go into Shopify, for
Yeah.
$40, you're up and running like in
Yeah.
24 hours, right? It's pretty amazing how far our technology has come. But so I spent from August till December. We had a prototype. I say we, me and my then manufacturer had a prototype by
Mhm.
around Christmas time of 2008. And then I spent the first quarter of 2009 perfecting that prototype by giving some samples away to people who I knew who were living in hot climates like Los
Mhm.
Angeles, Las Vegas, and a few locals too. But I just needed hot weather. I needed people to test this in weather where it was warm in
Mhm.
January and February, and that certainly wasn't the case in Toronto. I
Mhm.
also around in that first quarter went back to work full time because I knew that this would be a long road. I still had no
Mhm.
idea what I was doing, and I liked my lifestyle and I wanted to keep that up. So,
Yeah.
um, right for me, it was really a choice about. Uh, I can do this part-time. I think I can do this part-time. I can get a job somewhere else and focus on the business after hours. And that's what I
Mhm.
did. I went to work as a career coach at the University of Toronto and I
Mhm.
launched Sci Society in July of that year.
Mhm.
And that I ended up working at that MBA career coaching job for 7 years. My
Mhm.
2-year plan became 7 years because
Yeah.
honestly, I loved the work with MBAs. I loved coaching students. I loved that real time impact that I was able to make on people's
Mhm.
careers. It was immensely fulfilling to me. And it gave me the opportunity to work on Thigh Society in my spare time and to treat it like
Mhm.
a bit of a hobby. I cringe now at that word because it wasn't quite a hobby. I still was on it every day. I had to fulfill and ship orders when they came in. I was still getting orders,
Mhm.
and I was getting orders at that time probably because we were the only people bidding on anti chafing. We were the only people
Mhm.
using anti chafing in our language,
Yeah.
on our website language. So like SEO was a joke for us back then. It was like
Yeah.
we're gonna rank organically in first place because we're the only ones talking about this.
Oh, the algo. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Well,
algo, the good old algo,
well,
exactly.
I think that's critically important though, understanding the unsaid need, or
Yes,
if and I think a lot of that has to do with like representation. If people aren't represented and you go and you're representing them, all of a sudden, boom, that connection happens. And
totally.
before I go into some of the what was the unsaid need, I
Yes.
think what you just said was a really great uh exemplar of the entrepreneur story, that a lot of it is you got to have a posse. You got to rely on the people that you have, and it's not like A to B, it's like A and then it's up and down, but you ultimately had that. But the unsaid need:
Yeah.
monkey butt, swamp bass,
Yes.
thigh chafe,
Yes.
all sort of, uh, I think there's even something called anti monkey butt out
Yes.
there.
I have it in the back of me. One of these boxes there has that
Yeah.
product in there. Yeah.
So,
Um,
this is something that, and I went to Kohl's, this department store that we have
mhm,
over here. I went there
yep,
and I was looking at the various, garments that they had. And you're right. Every single one of them has something that's talking to you about your body and what's wrong
yeah,
with it.
yeah,
There's nothing, and it's either like designed to be, designed for the male gaze,
mhm,
uh,
mhm.
or is something that has panels. It has every single thing. None of them actually talk about comfort. None of them talk about like this is actually going to fulfill the role of underwear or slip
Mhm.
short, whatever you want to
Correct.
call it.
Yeah.
Uh, and so you really leaned into that, and you made a connection with people because you were like, no, this is the thing, and we're going to talk about.
Yes, I did. And again, I think it helps. I don't think you have to be the customer for your products that you're selling, but I think it certainly helps. And
It. Hmm.
I was trying to solve this problem for myself, and it turns out for millions of other women too. And
Hmm.
I really did resent the fact as a woman that I was always told to shrink myself, and I had struggled, I have some personal experience with disordered eating and
Hmm.
diet culture from a very young age, and just really resented the fact that in order to get some damn fabric coverage between my thighs that I was expected to put
Hmm.
on an undergarment that would be suffocating or distracting and uncomfortable. And I
Hmm.
just didn't think that was fair. I mean, men get all different leg lengths of boxer brief
Hmm.
underwear and nobody
Yep.
ever questions why. Men don't
Hmm.
need it for protection of thigh chafe because men are always wearing pants for the most part, right? You
Hmm.
don't often see a lot of men in skirts unless they're talking about kilts.
Hmm.
And so, it's like, well, no one's questioning why men wear long leg underwear under their jeans. Why would anyone question why women need long leg underwear? Because
Yeah.
that was part of the some of the some people who objected to my business idea at the beginning were like, women are never going to buy long leg underwear that doesn't shape them in some way. Like, you're
Yeah.
nuts. Like, who's going to buy this? Right. And I
Yeah.
thought at the time, really, my only target market was talking about thigh chafe and the sweating and, irritation and rash that comes with thigh chafe. But wow, like in the last 15 years, we have learned that people wear our products for swamp ass, that's
Hmm.
butt sweat, crotch sweat.
Hmm.
Anyone who has sensitive scarring that needs some sort of barrier that's cozy and comfortable between their sensitive skin or scarring or lipedema and the fabric
Hmm.
that they're wearing on top. I can go on and on and on and on. Even people who like any of that sweat in your pelvic region where you want something to like wick it off so it's not
Yeah.
sticking on your skin, giving you groin pimples. I mean, there's so many uses for long leg underwear for women that have performance attributes that it's
Yeah.
crazy to me that we didn't have that in 2008.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, part of one of the reasons why I was initially so impressed and I really liked
Mm,
your site
mhm,
was I had an experience with my wife trying to buy a brassiere at a
mm,
Macy's, and it
right.
was it was a completely humiliating experience for me, just like second part, because I'm just like,
Yeah.
can we just get a fitting? We just need to try to find, and it's like we have a kind of a worldview that's like A to D, and like
Yeah.
that's it,
Yeah.
which is why there are private like fitting boutiques, bra fitting
Yes,
boutiques that
there
are
are.
doing the God's work. One of the benefits that being D2C has, being direct to consumer, having a
Mm,
site that focuses, on this is that you're just having a conversation with your customer. You're not
yeah.
doing it in the context of the outside or the mall. It's intimate,
Yeah.
which is kind of the nature of intimates, which is one of the things that always bugs me is like if it's intimate, why is it that we throw all of this other stuff on it,
Mm,
where it's freighted with what you're supposed to look like, and sometimes you just want something to for coverage. You want it for basically what it's supposed to do. And one of the things I found interesting is that you look at a lot of these because we talk about like representation and like being able to
yes.
see people. You
Yeah.
have committed to representation on your site. You
Mhm.
have size based photography. Like you
Yes.
have the different models and the different shapes so you can actually see what they look like.
Yeah.
And like trying to buy online, it's like
It's
really
tough.
difficult for sizing because
Yeah.
all you see is the size 2 model, which is the
Mm.
default for,
Yeah.
a lot of the different websites. And,
Totally.
invariably, like, thigh gap is much more represented there than perhaps it is like
Mm,
in society. And I don't
mhm.
that's not realistic. How am I supposed to try to find a product if I don't have that representation?
Yeah.
How like but that's not easy, right? You didn't
No.
just decide that. You learned that over the course of talking to people.
Well, I learned that it wasn't easy, but I would say I knew, and it has been baked into the brand since I had the seed of an idea for this brand in 2008
Mhm.
that we were going to be size inclusive and we were going to represent diversity of bodies, age, size on our site, and that really came from again I guess my anger really
Mhm.
uh towards so many brands at that time that were only showing one body type. And by all accounts, I have a ton of thin privilege. You know, my weight has fluctuated over the years between a 6 and a size 14 when I was yo-yo dieting up until 15,
Mhm.
20 years ago.
Mhm.
But as a size 8 woman, I don't face any discrimination, like weight-based discrimination in my life.
Mhm.
But I am sensitive to the fact that there is weight-based discrimination, and it is hard for my friends who are, in bigger bodies to shop in stores, to find their size in stores, to see themselves represented, and myself as well. I don't really see in 2008, you certainly didn't see a size 8 woman on
Mhm.
any website as a model unless they were
Yep.
sort of tailoring unless they made it their mission that they were tailoring their branding to quote unquote plus size models, right? Like I think there's a
Like a
famous
Lane Bryant.
well, Lane Bryant is yes, Lane Bryant would be considered really plus size, yeah, but even if you look at someone like Ashley Graham, a
Mhm.
gorgeous plus size model, I think when she first, like, burst on the scene, she was maybe a size 8 or 10, which is hardly plus size when you think about the fact that the average American woman is a size 14, 16.
Yeah.
So, when I started Thigh Society, in my mind, I had 2 goals. One is to produce the best possible product I could of long leg underwear for women that would perform in the sense of being lightweight, minimal seams, breathable, moisture wicking, and comfortable. And the second point was to try to build a brand around this that women felt they could identify with. And
Mhm.
so, and that would mean trying to be size inclusive and not just with our sizing, but demonstrate that on our website.
Mhm.
So I'm sure, if any of your listeners are starting out in a product based business in clothing, it's very challenging because, there are so many different SKUs that can proliferate from that one seed of an idea. So
Yeah.
I started with doing black and beige,
Mhm.
or black, beige, and white. We introduced white or beige. Now I'm forgetting which one we introduced first, but I kept it to a color minimum, and we were doing size small, medium to size XL to XL, which already was 2XL at that time was still to do a size range that big was quite
Mhm.
got some people to take notice. But I always knew we wanted to expand beyond that, and we have since expanded to
Mhm.
6XL, and we're even looking at expanding on the smaller end of that range because, again, I've always known thigh chafing, and our customers have told us thigh chafing,
Mhm.
butt sweat, crotch sweat isn't limited to your body size. You can have it at
Mhm.
any size. But it is challenging because when you are bootstrapped like Thigh Society, you have to manage your inventory costs. So for every single, color you're going to offer every size. And for every leg length of short, you're going to offer every size. And I always wanted to offer the same options to my customers in a size, 14 body as I was to my
Mhm.
customers in a size 6 body. So I did have to manage that over the years. And that meant in photo shoots, I could only have 2 models at the beginning and then 3 models, and then
Mhm.
for only half day, just based on affordability or getting people who weren't quite professional models, but were people who were just trying to get their career off the ground.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I just wanted to make sure that we could show that when I was putting these products up on the site, that I could at least cover a wide enough swath of body types
Mhm.
um, that somebody shopping with Thigh Society would immediately understand that we were a brand that was about no judgment. This is
Mhm.
a shame-free zone, and we are here to offer you the best possible solution you're going to find for this long leg underwear garment that you're looking for. And so it's been such a treat and a dream come true over the last 15 years to
Mhm.
where we are today, where we have that body diversity on the site. We have different leg lengths that we offer across all of those sizes. We have like
Mhm.
more than 500 SKUs now.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, we only make one product, which is anti chafing or
Yeah.
slip shorts, right? So it's been something that has been, my personal mission since day one. We were, and then we happened to be quote unquote on trend, right? Because around
Mhm.
2010, 2012, Instagram was blowing up with body positivity,
Mhm.
hashtags and influencers and all of that movement. And we were already doing that. We were like, yeah, we're happy to be here. Like finally everyone's catching up.
Yeah.
And I think that movement, moved into body neutrality over the years, and now we're sort of seeing a little bit of backlash of that with the sort of GLP-1s and the Ozempics and the
Mm.
it's a whole other conversation about, weight-based stigmas and conversations happening online, but fundamentally, Thy Society stands for accepting the body that you're in and just being comfortable in it. Or even if we scrap the accepting, I mean, we're in the bodies we're in, and we might as well
Yeah.
be comfortable in them. And I am a really big fan of body autonomy. People can do what they want. If they're aiming to lose weight, that's great, good for them. If they want to wear shapewear, good for them. We
Mhm.
don't judge. We're just here to say for those times when you want a really comfy, set it and forget it underwear for
Mhm.
whatever sweat-based or comfort-based solution you're looking for, we've got you.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I'm reminded of there's a poem by Mary Oliver where she's talking about her body,
Okay.
and kind of coming to terms with, but accepting and loving her body as kind of the
Mm.
vessel that it's in. I think, like, you know, I'm getting older. I'm realizing that, I get a sense of kind of a little bit of curiosity and wonder and appreciation about my body, because it's at a certain point you're just like, this is my body.
Yes.
And it's amazing that some people have a problem with that. It's like, I got a body. I am a corporal entity, deal with it. Why is that an issue? And you go to what's interesting about the fit models
Yeah.
is that you talk about, like, systemic biases, like things
Mm.
that are biases that are like baked in
Mhm.
to our systems, but data
Mhm.
is a system. E-commerce
Yeah.
sites are a system. And I think it's interesting that to really provide that experience for your users that's going to answer their particular thing, you actually have to internalize, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to represent in your very data. But that is hugely influential. The fact that we have the default model is a size 2 model.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's incredible. That's mind-blowing that's a
Yeah.
a thing. And but you have, not only do you have it baked into your site, even to down to the data structure of it, and the way it's presented, the way the models are presented. You have a
Mm.
team that, it seems from what I gather,
Yep.
when you talk about it, on social media, that's also really aligned, that are
Yes.
providing a lot of that love into it as you get love back.
Yes, totally. I mean, everyone on the team is aware of our mission from, customer service to our media buyers, right? And
Mhm.
our product design team especially is made of very diverse body types, sizes, shapes, ages.
Mhm.
And, our team is often part of fit explorations and fit
Mhm.
modeling.
Mhm.
I was the fit model for Thigh Society for the first, I'd say, like decade for sure, decade plus,
Mhm.
as a size 6'8" with an hourglass figure, which is like not necessarily representative of the whole
Mhm.
population. We all have so many different shapes and sizes. So we would always rope in our designers who, had different, I hate the fruit analogy, but pear size and apple size and
Mhm.
however you want to describe it, like to make sure that our products were fitting different shapes of bodies too,
Mhm.
because that's another thing a struggle that I've heard from people when they try other shorts brands or shapewear,
Mhm.
is it either rolls down on them or they have to size up because their weight, or they have to size up because their thighs and their lower half of their body is larger than their waist. And so it
Mhm.
all becomes problematic. And it can be difficult for different body shapes to shop for bottoms, whether
Mhm.
that's intimates or jeans or whatnot,
Yeah.
just to get that right fit. And the reason why we ended up moving from a cut and sew product, which is what I started with until 2014, over to a seamless, very it's called seamless. It's knit on Santoni seamless knitting machines. It's
Mhm.
because there's so much stretch in that garment, that
Mhm.
that finished product, that it really fits multiple sizes
Mhm.
very comfortably. So
Yeah.
we usually have one size for every two sizes on our website. So like a small medium would be a 6'8", as opposed to
Mhm.
just small is a size 6, medium is at this. And that allows for total comfort. Even if a customer were to buy a size too small or too big, they probably
Mhm.
wouldn't feel that. They wouldn't, let's put it this way, they would never feel sucked in the way they would in shapewear.
Yeah.
Um, and so where was I going with that? Right, with fit models, I think, you know, not to bore your audience with the details of how apparel manufacturing works, but you often have one size model, and then you
Mhm.
extrapolate your dimensions and measurements for your other sizes based on a certain formula that is
Mhm.
pretty standardized from ahead of that, Judy, like ahead of that base
Mhm.
standard size, and then below it. And we don't follow conventional sizing standards that way because we understand, as a, our design team is all women.
Mhm.
We understand that it wasn't always, though. My pattern maker used to be a guy. We understand that just because someone's size um, might be increasing, it doesn't mean that we all put weight on proportionally in the same spot. So
Mhm.
you have to factor that into your product design. And I just think, some of the larger companies maybe don't have the time or don't have the
Mhm.
ability to tweak things like the way we would. So
Mhm.
all of that stuff is baked into every process, how we speak to our customers, how we design our products, what we show on our website, how our front facing customer service folks interact with our
Mhm.
customers at every touch point, how I talk to our people in emails, how I talk to our team,
Mhm.
and all of that. We're not just paying lip service to the cause. We really believe through and through in what we're doing, and it's quite simple. It's like, well, women deserve comfort. Period. Women
Yeah.
deserve solutions to common problems. And can we please do away with all of the shame and the weight-based stigma
Yeah.
that is attached to some of these totally normal skin conditions? Like,
Yeah.
we I think I was giving you this analogy in our early chat before this recording, is that most of us put on deodorant in the morning and we don't think twice about it. We're not berating
Mm-mm.
ourselves for putting on deodorant because we
Yeah.
sweat. So
Yeah.
why would women do the same if they needed a long leg undergarment to prevent, any type of sweaty problems down there?
So, and I think it's interesting because again, I think that's like really important to emphasize the fact that how deep into your business your your positioning is. Like what's your
Mm,
brand problem, what you're trying to solve. That's in everything. It's in your people, it's in your
yep.
data, it's in your product design. It's not a lip service
No.
thing. And
No.
I think like especially when you talk about like the garment industry, there are a lot of tropes and norms that are ossified into it.
Yep.
Like if you were trying to sell to major retailers, I would
Mhm.
imagine that you would face a lot of struggle because they would be like, well, this is what we sell now. We sell these four sizes, and like that's it. And we need you to conform to this, or be like the things that we're already selling versus having a different type of conversation. And I think
Oh,
like
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's true. I keep it much simpler though when it comes to selling to like big department stores and all that. And
Mhm.
I follow the KISS principle, the keep it simple, stupid principle.
Mhm.
And for me, getting into wholesale was a whole other business that I just
Mhm.
really wasn't that keen to diversify into. And
Yeah.
we haven't until this point, although we are in, probably about 2 dozen specialty bra boutiques in Canada.
Mhm.
But for me, it was less about you bring a really good point up in terms of the product assortment, right? That somebody
Mhm.
shopping somewhere like, we might have to limit our product assortment at certain stores. And for me, it was much simpler than that. It was just I didn't want to have long windows before I would get paid. Some at the
Mhm.
beginning were asking for consignment back in the
Mhm.
day. Having to integrate really complex technical systems in order to
Mhm.
get paid. I just wasn't interested. And I also didn't want to have to worry about another stakeholder in a sense because we're not a promotion based brand, but I didn't want
Mhm.
to worry about if we wanted to run a promotion that I had to
Mhm.
clear it by my wholesalers first and make sure that aligned with their wholesale programming and
Yeah.
planning. I didn't want, anyone in recent years, it's been more a function of, well, a lot of these retailers have not necessarily the mom and pops or the women owned ones, but the big ones have online presences. and very
Mhm.
big budgets to advertise. So I would never want to be in a situation where, Thigh Society, we're competing against ourselves, right? Where we have like a Nordstrom, for example, advertising Thigh Society online and then us selling it on our website and then them having a sale and us not being able to compete with that. So those are more of the challenges now as far as when I think about wholesale and what that could look like, or what are the things we would want to steer clear of and make sure that we don't that we don't cannibalize on our website.
So speaking of ad spend,
Yeah.
you found that Meta is probably one of your more effective channels, if I
Yeah.
understand that correctly.
Meta and Google. Yeah.
Meta and Google.
Yeah.
Uh, what did it feel like to drop those first dollars on ad spend? Was that
Terrifying.
really right?
It's like a
Isn't
gut
it?
yeah, I still have it now, I still can feel it so viscerally like I did. It was 2016, it was either late 2015 or early 2016, and I had spoken to a founder, a local founder of another, intimate apparel brand here in Toronto,
Mhm.
because I'd seen her business skyrocketing, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, what happened? I'm
Mhm.
seeing ads all the time." She's like, "It's ads, and I had this agency, and let me introduce you to them." She was kind enough to introduce me an ads agency that I put my full trust in, but was very for sure was very I think gosh, it was several $1,000s a month plus ad spend. So it was a bit like I was choking on it, but
Yep.
I was also smart enough to see that Facebook ads were picking up as a user of Facebook then and now. I
Mhm.
mean, I was being targeted with ads. I know those ads weren't coming free, weren't coming cheap by the brands who
Mhm.
were doing it. And
Mhm.
I thought, you know what? Like I don't think we're going to be able to just keep growing organically like we had been until that point.
Mhm.
And so it was like within a couple of months, we were already seeing the possibilities for scaling on Meta. So much
Mhm.
so that I actually ended up quitting my full time job that year because the business just, I think we almost doubled in size by the end of 2016,
It's
going from like
amazing.
350 to 750, something like that in 2016. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. It's taken me like 7 years to get to 350. And now
Yeah.
6 months to get to 750, so there was a lot of power in that, and you know what? You've gotta spend money to make money. I think
Mhm.
we're fed a lot of, the media loves sexy headlines and clickbait, and so we're sold a lot of these, brand goes viral on one TikTok, and
Yeah.
we're sold a
Drop
lot of
ship, become a
yeah,
millionaire.
dropship, become a millionaire, and there's you know
Yeah.
what? No one likes to hear the unsexy message of there's no fast track way to success. You know,
Yep.
sure, there's unicorns out there, and I think Thigh Society is a unicorn in a lot of ways, but we've been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah.
I've been full time on this for 8 years, so yeah, I think it's slow and steady wins the race. Depending on how you want to build your business, but don't set yourself up for to expect to have this like rocket ship growth
Mhm.
and going viral from organic content. Like you usually have to play the game. You have to
Mhm.
put your money down. You have to find some trustworthy partners, whether they're freelancers or small agencies, people that know more, because you cannot be an expert at all things. And I see some of my counterparts, founders, CEOs, whose businesses are where we were a few years ago. And a lot of them are trying to do it all. And, they have my respect for their intellectual ability to learn Facebook ads and,
Mhm.
to try to master that. But you cannot be a Jill of all trades. You
Mhm.
can know enough to be dangerous, as
Yeah.
my CFO likes to say. I know enough
Yep.
to be dangerous, but you cannot be an expert in all things. You need to outsource that. You need to
Mhm.
spend a little bit of money, put some money
Mhm.
down, invest in good people, invest in those platforms that are going to give you that return, because your time has value as well. And so if
Yeah.
you're spending time trying to learn, and you're never going to have time to learn all the things it takes to run a business,
Yeah.
not to the level of depth that you're going to need to scale.
Yeah.
So that's always my advice to people is I know it hurts, believe me, I feel it. We're bootstrapped. So it's all Thigh Society money going back into Thigh Society.
Mhm.
It's just you you have to accept at some point that you're going to need to make an investment, and you're making an investment in yourself and in your
Yeah.
business.
But it hurts, Marnie. It
Yeah, it
hurts.
sure does.
It's thousands of dollars, and it's
It's
like, I'm
thousands of
not.
dollars. That's why I say don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
I speak to entrepreneurs all the time, and I say, you know what? Do not quit your day job.
Yeah.
I think we're so again, like businesses take a long time to ramp up,
Mhm.
and try to figure out a way to make money elsewhere so you're not like stressed out about trying to squeeze everything out of your business. That's a really
Mhm.
stressful place to be.
Yeah.
And we have one life, you don't want to burn out. You don't want to be working yourself to the bone. Sure, there have been times where I've been working really hard and I've poured
Yeah.
everything into this business, but thankfully, I've never had burnout. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I've never gotten sick from working on this business, and that's all by design. It's because
Yeah.
I know my boundaries. I set boundaries. I know my limits, and I know that sometimes, even though it hurts to put those dollars down, it's
Mhm.
going to let you sleep at night better
Yeah.
than better than the alternative.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of acceptance, right? Is
Yes.
that it's like it's not accepting your limitations, it's accepting that you are valuable, your time is valuable. Still hurts to spend that money, especially if you've been skating around like on trial versions of things and stuff like that, but you got to go in,
Yeah,
you got to commit
exactly.
on that.
And isn't there that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with
Go with
others,
go with
go with
friends.
a
Yeah.
team, go with
Yeah.
friends. Yeah, and I think that that saying applies for sure
Yeah.
when it comes to running a business.
So there's a going back to the site and kind of one of the
Yeah.
reasons I really liked it.
Yes.
Uh, what? How long have you had that quiz?
The quiz I think we put into place about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
and that was
encourage everyone on here. Summer
yes.
is coming up. Go to the site, take the quiz. It's
Yes.
I think, a masterclass on explaining the value proposition
Thank
of the
you.
product and explaining what it is. I think, as
Yeah.
I mentioned before, I'm a cotton.
Yeah, you're cotton.
But
Yeah.
the cargo is also very nice because it has a pocket, which
Yep.
I think is, for I have a lot of friends who keep their stuff in their bra, because
Oh
they're
my
trying
gosh.
to carry. I'm sure that, but it was very common for my friends in Austin, mostly because it's hot, right? So,
Right.
but to just have a pocket, I think is great. But it's really interesting because it walks through the different use cases for your product and help me understand just like what it is. Like you said, it just gets the job done and it answers a problem, and we're going to take all the other shit out of it and just
Yeah.
answer your problem. Uh,
Exactly. Like, what are you most looking for here? And we can
yeah,
help whittle that down for you. One could
yeah,
argue there's a use case for every there is a use case for every short. I love to say that everyone should have at least one style in their drawer, or at least
yeah,
one. I start with at least one pair, and then I say, well, why not get one of each? Because they
yeah,
each serve a different purpose, and people have their preferences,
yeah.
and we do have customers that own multiple pairs, and we'll alternate between the fabrics depending on whatever they're using it for.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, you have the really sheer, you have the ones that have more coverage, you different lengths,
Yes.
different sizes,
Different. Yep.
and you
Mhm.
can see it all, and I
Yeah,
think that's great. Uh,
totally.
One other kind of side thing, it's funny because uh, there are a lot of groups that, because you get people's attention because you're honest about what you're talking. It's not
Yeah.
it's not oh, this word keeps killing me.
Yep.
It's
It's
not
not gimmicky.
no, transgressive. It's not transgressive,
Mm.
but it is candorous. It
Yes.
does have a certain
Yes.
degree of candor that is arresting in
Yes.
other, probably that because we've been because we don't talk about stuff that it sometimes tends to be really problems. And I'm thinking about things like you mentioned, we talk about monkey butt, swamp ass, crotch
Yeah.
sweat, all of that stuff. But then there are also like other issues like people who are disabled,
Yes.
people who are perimenopausal. Nobody
Yes.
talks about
Yes.
menopause. And
No.
I just happen to know that like that's a big thing. And
Yes, it is.
there are elements that come up with that. Nobody fucking talks about it. And it's like, if in the I think one of the great things about direct to consumer is that you could have the conversation that you want. And if
Yes.
people are looking for that conversation, they will find you.
Yes.
Because I think
Totally.
a lot of what you see on the benefits thing on the rack from the shapewear
Yeah.
isn't necessarily what somebody's going to go searching for. You know,
Right.
there
Right.
I think people given the chance can understand their bodies, can do that without speaking the language of, fear and shame. Like
Right.
make yourself smaller. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I just want to cover my crotch so I can wear
Exactly.
it.
I mean, so many brands profit off of shame, right? Shame as a
Yeah.
selling point, and we're the opposite of that. We are
Yeah.
like, you know what? The only way to get rid of shame and taboos is to talk openly about them because, a core part of shame and taboos is feeling alone and embarrassed and thinking you're the only one that has that problem. And in fact, we all like to think that we're special, and we are special in our own ways, but we all have these human vessel bodies that are taking us through this world. And they all function the same, no matter what your skin tone. We all have blood inside us. We all have the same functions that our organs perform, that our sweat glands perform, and we're all the same. So why let conventional patriarchal standards tell us how and what we should talk about and what we should feel embarrassed to talk about. We're all about busting that wide open, and there's a lot of great brands starting to do that now. I think there's another expression I really love, that rising tides raises all ships, something like
Yeah.
that. And I think the more we see brands emerging with this type of direct communication about the problems their products are solving in a way that is non-judgmental and very matter of fact, the better it's going to be for everybody. It's easier than for other brands to come up with ideas and talk to their customer base because people are now primed for, having these conversations. And I mean, I've seen that with, the topic around bodies for sure over the last decade, is that, I wouldn't want Thigh Society to be the only brand in the market showing size diversity on our site. That
Yeah.
would be, sure, on the one hand, it'd be like great to be held up on that pedestal, but that's not for the benefit of everybody. The benefit
Hmm.
of everyone is if more brands and over time are showing diversity on their site.
Hmm.
What benefits one benefits all usually. So, we're a leader for sure in the discussions around anti-chafe and, swamp ass and all of those fun topics. And I love seeing more brands come out with more honest communications about, what why their products are going to help solve a problem. And especially I like those brands that are solving problems that are real problems, not manufactured problems relating to artificial beauty standards.
And to that, I say, right on. Thank you, Marnie. Uh, Marnie Rabinovitch Consky, CEO of Thai Society, outstanding product creator. Just incredible to hear your story of how you have worked and really made your brand fit all through all the different levels. Thank you for sharing your journey with us and talking about swamp ass with us. I really
Love
appreciate it.
it. Any opportunity to talk about swamp ass, you know it. I'm your girl. Just call me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Brought to you by High Velocity, enterprise front end app for your commerce stack. Faster performance, faster development, faster launch, faster change, all with one cost of ownership. Speed and direction. High Velocity. That means fast.